Okay, so every January, it's the same thing, right? Millions of us decide this is the year. We make our New Year's resolutions, we're going to exercise more, read more, just be better. It feels like such a modern thing, doesn't it? Totally fueled by social media and that whole self help vibe. But what if I told you that this annual tradition of ours actually connects you to a super high stakes, tear filled ceremony that was performed by a king 4,000 years ago?
So, before we jump in that time machine, let's just take a second to look at our own resolutions right here, right now. Because when you post a resolution online, you're doing way more than just setting a goal for yourself. You're actually performing an act of valuation. You're basically putting a stake in the ground and telling the world, this is what's important, this is what's worthwhile in life. So, the real question is, what do our modern resolutions say about what we actually value? Well, some researchers actually dug into this. They sifted through over 160,000 tweets about New Year's resolutions and found some really clear patterns. The number one value people were talking about was effort. Stuff like staying motivated, working harder, just grinding it out. Right on its heels was the self, which is all about self-love, self-care, and mental health. And then rounding out the top three was culture. Things like reading more books, watching more movies, or getting into sports. And this is where it gets really fascinating because this data shows this core conflict we all seem to be dealing with. On one hand, you have all these resolutions about effort, which is classic self-improvement, that whole new year, new you mindset. But then on the other hand, you have all these posts about the self, which are pushing for self-acceptance, for resisting that constant pressure to change. It's like this giant public battle over what it even means to live a good life. And you can see this tension playing out all over the internet. A lot of people play it straight. They conform, they post sincere goals like, I'm going to read more books this year. But then you have a whole bunch of people who push back, using humor and sarcasm to kind of poke fun at the whole ritual. That sarcastic post, my resolution is to turn on the TV subtitles, isn't just a joke. It's rejecting that whole earnest self-improvement thing for just, enjoying yourself. So what we have is this really complex digital ritual, right? We're declaring goals, we're talking about self-acceptance, we're even making fun of the whole thing. It feels so now, so completely tied to our lives online. But is it? Is this deep-seated desire to mark a new beginning and publicly declare our values, is it really just a 21st century thing? Not even close. To find the real roots of this tradition, we've got to go back, way back, about 4,000 years ago, to the ancient city of Babylon. And back then, the New Year wasn't about your personal goals. Oh no, it was about the fate of the entire cosmos. So, the ancient Babylonians had this massive 12-day New Year festival called the Akitu. And this wasn't just a party with a countdown. This was an incredibly structured, deeply religious ritual. The whole point was to make sure the universe stayed in order and to keep the kingdom safe and stable for the next year. And right at the heart of it all was one person, the king. On the 5th day of the festival, things got really intense. Picture this. The king walks into the main temple. The high priest comes up to him and strips him of his crown, his scepter, everything that makes him the king. Then, the priest slaps the king's cheek, hard. The king then has to get on his knees and swear that he's been a good ruler, that he hasn't sinned. And the whole point of that slap? To make the king cry. And the stakes here could not have been higher. I mean, ancient texts are crystal clear about this. If the king didn't cry, it was a terrible, terrible omen. It meant the gods were mad and that the kingdom was doomed to face disaster and invasion in the coming year. The king's public performance of humility, his tears, was literally a matter of national security. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. These two things seem like they're from different planets. One is a king, a god, and the fate of an entire empire. The other is you, your smartphone, and a goal to maybe drink more water. So how on earth can we even compare them? Well, there's actually a really powerful way to connect them, and it's all about how rituals create meaning through space. The Akitu festival is what scholars would call a locative ritual. And that's really just a fancy way of saying its meaning is locked to a specific sacred location. Everything that mattered, everything that had power, happened right there, inside the temple walls in Babylon. The whole point was to keep order and reinforce the boundaries of that very specific holy place. Our New Year's resolutions on social media, though, they are the absolute opposite. They represent a utopian vision. And utopian here uses its original literal meaning, no place. This ritual isn't tied to a temple or any physical spot. It happens everywhere and nowhere, all at once, on this global digital stage. The meaning isn't in a location, it's in a shared, placeless conversation. So when you put them side by side, the change is just, wow, it's so clear. The goal has gone from locking down the cosmic order for everyone to negotiating our own personal values. The main character is no longer the king, it's every single one of us. The stage has moved from a physical temple to a placeless digital platform. And the stakes have gone from the fate of an entire kingdom to our own personal growth. But, and this is the key, even with all those massive differences, the fundamental human drive behind it is identical. The Babylonian king, by crying in front of his god, was performing his value of humility and his dependence on a divine order. And us, when we tweet our goals, we are performing our values, whether it's effort or self-acceptance or creativity. They are both public performances of what matters most to us, happening right at that crucial moment of renewal.
So the next time you think about posting your New Year's resolution, just take a second and remember that Babylonian king. You're not just typing out another goal. You're actually participating in a ritual with a 4,000-year-old history. You are connecting your own personal hopes to this ancient, timeless human need to declare to the whole world who you